And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Weather tonight showing a weak system coming into the western Aleutians out there, otherwise scattered snow showers over the southeast Bering Sea and snow showers over the western interior, light snow here from the Kobuk Valley up to the eastern Arctic coast. Otherwise showers over the mid and upper Tanana Valley, Copper River Basin, North Gulf Coast and south central Alaska, and rain changing to showers this evening and sort of diminishing toward later tonight over the southeast coast, but another trough will bring some more shower activity in tomorrow. Yet another one off the coast, therefore tomorrow night. Otherwise scattered showers, mostly cloudy skies, south central Alaska, Kodiak Island, right up into the eastern interior. Diminishing snow up over the Arctic coast along with diminishing winds, and also diminishing snow showers and diminishing winds over the eastern Bering Sea. This system slipping off to the south, not doing much, but this one's well south of the Alaska Peninsula will move up right up toward the southeast coast on Tuesday afternoon. And for the coastal water forecast, south winds 15 knots for the southern coast of the Panhandle, southeast 15 to 20 knots on the central coast and the north coast, south-southeast or east-southeast at 20 knots. Lynn Canal, south winds 10 knots, southeast at about 10 for Stevens Passage, and light winds for Clarence Strait from the south at 15 knots. And then on Tuesday, as that next system approaches, actually small craft advisories all along the coastline. Here on the south coast, southerlies 25 to 30 knots, southeast 25 to 30 knots on the central coast, east-southeast 30 knots for the north coast, and the inside waters, southeast winds at 10 knots with seas 2 to 3 feet. Prince William Sound tomorrow, southeast winds 10 knots, seas 2 feet. North Gulf Coast, winds variable at 10 knots. South 15 for the Barren Islands, west winds 20 knots for Kamishak Bay. Cook Inlet, south winds 20 knots, especially in the afternoon with seas 5 feet. And those winds in Cook Inlet turn around to the northeast at 15 knots on Tuesday, east at 20 for Kamishak Bay, northeast 20 here for the Barren Islands, western North Gulf Coast. Prince William Sound, east winds at 15 knots with 3-foot seas, and the eastern North Gulf Coast, east winds 20 to 25 with 5 to 6-foot seas. Kodiak Island, small craft advisories for Monday, west winds 25 knots, west at 20 for Bristol Bay, west-northwest 15 to 20 knots for the Alaska Peninsula. Even lighter, more variable winds for the peninsula here on Tuesday. Otherwise, Bristol Bay, northwest at 15 knots, Kodiak Island, northeast winds at 15 knots with 3 to 4-foot seas. And then for the eastern Aleutians tomorrow, northwest winds 15 knots, north to northwest winds at 15 for the Adak-Atka area. Kiska to Shimia looking at east winds 15 to 20 knots. And then for Tuesday, west-northwest winds for the western Aleutians of 15 to 20 knots with 5 to 6-foot seas. Adak and Atka, northwest 20 knots, seas 5 feet. Eastern Aleutians, west-northwest winds at 15 knots with 4 to 5-foot seas. And for the southwest coast, north to northwest winds here at 20 knots, seas 2 to 4 feet. North 15 for the Pribilofs, north 20 St. Matthew Island, north 20 for St. Lawrence Island and Norton Sound, light north winds at 10 knots. For Tuesday, light winds here over the northern Bering Sea into Norton Sound, mostly from the north or northwest at about 10 knots right along the Yukon Delta coast. Kuskokwim Delta coast west at 15 knots. Pribilofs, variable winds at 10 knots, north at 20 for St. Matthew Island. Central and eastern Beaufort Sea coastline, northeast winds 20 knots, brisk wind advisories for the western Arctic coast, out of the northeast at 25 knots. Gale warnings for the Chukchi Sea, north to northeast winds 30 to 35 knots. Outlook for Tuesday, Chukchi Sea, north to northeast winds 20 to 30 knots, northeast 25 knots on the western Arctic coast, central coast northeast of 15, eastern Beaufort Sea coast, east to northeast winds at about 10 knots.